Hello, everybody. I'm Anthony Horn on the Site Farm team, IET Web Development, and this is.
I'm Mark Miller. I'm also one of the developers on the Site Farm team.
And we have a really cool presentation for you today. We're going to be talking about advanced layouts using Layout Builder.
So what is Layout Builder? It is a way to basically make some advanced pages on your website. So if you're familiar with the basic page, you now have a way to move sections and blocks and positions things where you want as well. There's some extra tools for saving things to libraries, and so you can reuse parts. And so ultimately, you have much more power at your fingertips to get the designs you want, and then also to make sure branding is similar across our community.
So the Layout Builder UI. So this is a big part of this, and it is a way for you to build custom layouts using the basic page content type. So Site Farm team and Strategic Communications is proud to present this as a feature of the basic page content type. We've been hard at work customizing the Layout Builder experience to give you an advanced page building tool. And so we're going to take a second here to look at that. So you may be familiar with this. We're going to create a basic page. And this is just sort of a high level overview. A lot of this stuff we're going to talk about here in a little bit more detail, and in following presentation, much more detail. So you'll see down here, we're going to go turn off the sidebars so that they're not in the way of our new layout. And we got this layout. You now have this layout tab, which brings you into the Layout Builder interface. And so lots of stuff here. You can see there's notifications that you can view and hide. There are extra settings down there that you can view and hide. You can, as Mark mentioned, you can import things. You can see these are some of our new blocks, which we'll talk about as well. But you can see we've done a few upgrades here to stuff like colors, so you can see what you're picking there. And notifications, you have unsaved content. You could turn off these content previews. So just a lot of work has gone into making this experience as nice as possible. You can see you got some layout stuff. There's a lot of configuration here. Again, stuff that we're not going to get into right this second, but we will get into. And lots more, there's tabs and tabs of stuff here. A lot of power at your fingertips. So can be overwhelming, but we're going to try and unpack some of this stuff for you. You can see you can kind of play with that thing now, or the Layout Builder slide out. And
yeah, and if any of this is looking overwhelming, all of this is additive. You don't have to use it. You can keep doing things the way you've always done it, but this just gives you more power if you want to have a more advanced layout or to try and meet your design needs.
Absolutely.
One of the other additions to this that Anthony hit for just a moment is Regions Override. This is not actually specific to Layout Builder. This can be used on any page, but in your toolbar, there's now that Regions Override tab where you can remove sidebars. You can remove entire body regions that include things like the title and breadcrumb. You could even get rid of all regions altogether. And the advantage of this is that it's per page, which means if you have a specific page where you don't want some block bleeding through, you can force it to remove all of that. So you can either do it through that tab, or you can do it through the actual edit page, where now in the sidebar, there's a little drop down for page layout.
And we got a few examples of that here. So this is the default. So if you use Layout Builder and you don't change any of the regions override settings, by default you get, if your page has content in the first sidebar content region and second sidebar. By the way, Layout Builder really outputs all of your layout stuff into that main content area. So that is why regions override is so powerful, is because it allows you to do things like turn off the sidebars. So a lot of these you may be familiar with these sort of full page layouts, and Layout Builder has all of these multi-column layouts. So really turning off sidebars is probably going to be a go-to for a lot of page building, because it allows you to sort of have full control over your columns in your layout. There's another setting that Mark mentioned, which is remove all regions. And this allows you to remove all regions. You'll see there's not even a header or footer. So if for some reason you want to sort of just blitz everything and do a really custom layout from top to bottom, you can do that.
So the main container for each layout is a section, and each section you can add a layout. A section basically goes the full width of everything, but then within that you could add, for example, a 2-column layout or 3-column, or there's some various different things, and you can stack all of these. So if you want, you could have a 2-column underneath that, a 3-column under that, a 1-column, and any sort of combination you want. And when you add one of these layouts, you then get options. So if you add section, you'll get a pop-up, and you can now govern, for example, the horizontal space for containers. You can add gutters to them. You can control vertical spacing. And so within that, there's a lot of customization.
And we're going to talk a little about that just next. So the customization that Mark is talking about are things like layout. So there are kind of three main sections for section customization. Sorry, that's a little confusing terminology, but you can see that you can control the horizontal layout of your section. You can contain the vertical spacing within the inside of your section and outside of your section, as well as the gutters, which really is how your content is contained within your section. And let me advance that. I swear I know how to use this. So, appearance. Oh, and I'm losing control. Okay. So, more section customizations. We've got within the appearance tab, you can choose background colors and you can choose a background image. And so here's a good example of that. So this campus recreation page, or this page from the ucdavis.edu site, you can see there's a section called campus recreation, but they've got this kind of blue full width image. And this is how you would replicate this in Layout Builder. And then the last section of customizations is custom CSS class, which may also include additional section-specific styles.
Now, all of the sections are nothing more than containers for the content. So the content is still using blocks, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with. One big difference between the traditional block system and the new system where blocks are in layouts is that blocks are specific to that layout. They're not reusable outside of it. This way you don't have to worry about someone editing one of your blocks and it changed something somewhere else on the website without your knowledge. So every block is specific to its own layout. As well, that means there's no longer any sort of limit on how many blocks you can have. I know a lot of people ran into issues with that in the previous system where you know, they'd have so many blocks and whoops, you can't add any more. So everything is unique to the system. You still have all of your custom block types, and we actually added a couple new ones.
Yay, new blocks. So one of those new blocks is called the alignable promo, and you can see that feature here, or block here. And you can also see that it has some really fun customizations. It is brandable and it can be set to left, center, or right alignment. Again, why we call it an alignable promo, because that's kind of its main feature, is its ability to be aligned. So the color choice affects the button colors, and when possible, it affects the font colors as well. And you can see that we've now set it from its default center to a left alignment, and then right alignment will have that image go to the right.
Another one of our blocks is actually an existing block, but it's just a new style option. So if you're familiar with the marketing highlight horizontal, there's now a new checkbox, which will overlay the title on top of the image and kind of have a nice little animation. And it's also contextual to the size. So if there's not enough horizontal width for the text to be contained, it will actually drop underneath the image so that you don't have weird layout issues happening.
And our final one is called a tile link, and you'll see that these are sort of little tiles that can be linked, and they have some fields for a title, some description, which is is optional, and again brandable, linkable, and really great for things like horizontal layouts.
So one of the things I'm most excited about is the new section library. So this allows you to save a section with all of its blocks in it to a library, so you can reuse it on your site. So it even does an entire page template. So you can do an individual section, or you can do an entire page of sections. So now if you create a new page, and you don't want to have to redo everything from scratch, you can go to your library and import it.
Which brings us to importing from library. So we've got this layout. We don't want to rebuild the thing we just built on some other layout. So we can hit import from library, and it brings up our library. So you can see that when you go to add to library, either for the section or for the entire layout, when you say add to library for the entire layout, it takes all those sections and saves them into a single template. And then when you place it, it places all those sections into the layout wherever it is that you tell it to import. So you'll see there's that import from library button that appears between each of your existing sections in your layout. So if you go between section 1 and section 2 and you import a layout that had 3 sections, all 3 of those sections are going to get placed between that section 1 and section 2. It allows you to, when you save a layout, it allows you, or when you save a section or a layout, it allows you to upload a little thumbnail. If you don't, there's a little default one that kind of shows up that's just kind of a little line drawing. But as you can see here, these are layouts that you can now choose from and place within your design.
And one really cool thing is Strategic Communications has provided several templates that we will have for everyone right out of the box. So if you're going, I would really like a new cool design, but I'm not a designer, you can just import one of our standard templates, and then you can just replace the text, replace an image, whatever you need to alter on it, but you'll have a beautiful design right out of the gate.
And on that tab book, I might mention that we have, this is not going to apply to existing sites, but if you spin up a new site in Sitefarm after these upgrades or after this update happens, the homepage is actually built using Layout Builder. So out of the box, you have a layout right as soon as you install to go play with and look at. And so that's a good place too to see how this stuff works.
Yeah, and I guess one thing we should add is that if it won't affect existing sites. So if you've already built a homepage, don't worry, it's not going to blow away your homepage and give you some default thing. Brand new sites will get the new Layout Builder homepage, but it won't affect your existing one. You can go ahead and do it if you want, but you don't have to worry about that.
So that's it for our sort of high level overview. So now we're going to turn it over to Tom, and he's going to make some pages, and you guys can kind of see how the sausage is made.